At a point, they started telling me that there's a call of God on my life, but I didn't believe it. As I was growing up, I had one interest, that's be a farmer. I wanted to have a farm with a lot of animals, a lot of, I have cattle, I have this, I have that. So when they started telling me God is going to call me, I was not interested in that. But I would say the call started actually when one of my uncles took me to a full gospel business fellowship meeting. And there was one prophet who came to minister. He started prophesying that God is going to use me and all that. But I came home and I realized that the birds started dying and the animals. I didn't understand. All the friends who were helping me, nobody could understand. So I went for another meeting. And then that prophet also said that God is telling him that everything I'm going to do is not going to succeed unless I respond to the call of God. And that might be the reason why even it's affecting my poetry and all that. I was not interested to become a pastor. Yes, because at that time I finished my quantity surveying. I've also finished building technology, and there was this expectation of me going to work and helping my mother to take care of my siblings. That was the first resistance, that I didn't even want to go into that side of becoming a pastor then, because I'm going to defeat this whole purpose of going to work. If you say God has called you, where? What type of call? Where are you going to work? And those days it was a fellowship. I didn't even know which church I was going to go in. And when you go, how are you going to earn your daily bread and all that? So it's not like our day that somebody get called in the ministry, immediately he comes and then probably the church start paying him. No, those days I didn't even know where I was going. Now there's another thing too about the call of God that's very interesting, that it's so rare that it makes you helpless. It's like everything doesn't function. I would say, I'll call it the dealings of God. If God decides to call somebody, I believe the way he deals with everybody is different. The example I'll give you in the Bible is like Jonah. God called other people that they were resisting. But probably Jonah's call was so crucial that part of the punishment of resistance was to go to the belly of a whale. My case was, I was not myself. Put it this way, the joy came when I finally decided I'm going to respond to the call of God. I have to read a biography of one or two people who went. I think I read something about Dr. Yonggi, who went through some things, a very tough time before he responded to the call of God. So those things really motivated me. Finally, I have to accept that no, God has called me. When I announced to my mother that God has called me, my next plan was that I want to go to Bible school. That is where the other major resistance church actually came in. My mother, as a mother, I didn't have much problem with her, but my uncles and siblings, they saw me as disappointing to the family. Nobody was ready to give you any support. If you say God has called you, then you are on your own and all that. A lot of ridicule, a lot of compare you to other cousins who are pursuing their vision and their call. They saw you responding to the call of God as be a failure completely, and then probably you are lazy. I had a lot of other challenges, yeah. And when you become the first generation Christian, I come from a family that was people were religious, but they were not Christians. So they didn't understand this whole concept about even you say God has called you. Because the only example of the call they have is the church, the family go, the Presbyterian, the Orthodox kind of call, which anybody that responds is quite an elderly person who has probably be a teacher work, and then now he goes to Trinity Baptist. So they didn't understand this whole concept. And those were very strong psychological trauma. It's like you don't fit into the family and into a certain society. Yeah, we were preaching the fellowship meetings and all that, and going around villages and preaching and trying to win souls for Jesus Christ and all that. During the fellowship time, then I had opportunity to be preaching for a pastor when I was doing my national service in St. Paul's. And through that, he introduced me to Reverend Piakofi. When I was there, I saw that they had a Bible school. There were a few Bible schools around. So I joined their Bible school for a 2-year diploma course. And whilst I was in the Bible school, I started a fellowship in Dansoman. that started growing, and it actually grew. I think there was those days not less than about 200 to 300 people in the fellowship. Yeah, so he heard about it, and then he asked whether if I'm interested for them to turn it to be a branch church of Global, and so I don't mind. And he also asked me to join. At that time, he was just about to start his Ampia Coffee Word Outreach, so he asked me if I could join the team and then probably help. So I gave up the fellowship. He asked me that a pastor would come and preach. Actually, he said he wanted it to be turned to be a branch church, and then I'll pastor it. But the pastor who came to supposed to inaugurate it as a church became the Mataiko branch, and then we started. And from there, he moved me to the head office, and he asked me to be the coordinator for his crusade. So I became the first coordinator probably for the Ampia Coffee Word Outreach. Before I joined even Global, I used to have a fellowship called the Omega. And the Omega Fellowship, we were going to villages to do crusades. So I had a team of young people. I just go and group them. We go and fast and pray. After that, we choose maybe a brewery someplace. We just go there and do evangelism. And then we didn't have equipment by then. So maybe one monitor, we put it in a place that people have gathered, and we start preaching. And I'll be preaching, yeah. And so I couldn't even call myself a pastor or responding to call or something. Yeah, it's normal thing. It's just a natural thing everybody does. If you don't do that, they don't even consider you as you can't fit into the system. And now people call me prophet. I didn't start as a prophet. I was more like an evangelist kind of, yeah. And then fellowship time, I became more like I got interested in a lot of praying. So I was organizing all the young people fasting and praying. Then whilst I was doing the crusade thing for Reverend Piakofi, very insignificant, very quiet at the background. I was even a Sunday school teacher and then a maturity class teacher. So one day I went to Reverend Piakofi after one convention. I said that I want to start an all-night. So fine. We used to have an all-night in the church, but it has collapsed. So I started. I believe everybody in the church should be a prayer warrior. So we started the all-night. So it's one of the major things in the nation. It really caught a lot of attention.